Use code KEKANJI if you want. Use code KEKANJI if you want. Use code KEKANJI if you want to save 1% off.
Top 10 strongest key-based ultimate attacks in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, the updated version. Oh yes, hello everyone and welcome to the video. As I've just said, this is the updated version, as since the last time I did this video, Xenoverse 2 has had more updates, DLC, patch notes, balancing adjustments, all that good stuff. So that said, I'm going to be doing this on a level 99 male sane character, avatar CAC, whatever you want to call it. Here are the stats. Here's the QQ Bang. I'm not using a Super Soul, Limit Burst, or a Vulcan skill for this, just so every skill is even across the board. So that said, you can make all of these skills significantly stronger if you have the appropriate Super Soul with a Limit Burst and an Awoken skill, and maybe just some other skills to make you stronger. But for the purposes of this video, no additional power-ups, just so it's all fair across the board. And I'll be using full power Super Saiyan Brody from Dragon Ball Super Brody as the, I guess, test subject, with his health set to unlimited, so you can see just how much damage these skills will do. And finally, if you are watching this right now, I need you to like the video, upvote it. Let's see how many likes we can get on this video. And also, if you are watching right now, you may not actually be subscribed to the channel, as about, give or take, 50% of you that are watching right now are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, please do. Thank you ever so much. And with that said, let's now get into the top 10 strongest key ultimates in Xenoverse 2 updated. Number 10, the times 100 Big Bang Kamehameha locked off 14,963 damage. Starting off the list with one of the most iconic attacks especially in Dragon Ball GT, but just more so in the Dragon Ball series in general. Now, this is, again, to lock off with this, you just have to use it while being locked off, and then it will rotate around, 180 degrees. So basically, you need to use this locked off on your opponent with your back facing them. So although it will do a very good amount of damage, and again, it can be made significantly stronger with the right build, Super Soul, Limit Burst, Awoken skill, etc, 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 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to be able to use this again locked off properly, because it just takes too long. You'll probably have to go for a stamina break, a heavy stamina break, and then just hope your opponent doesn't do something like, for example, Limit Burst. But with that said, the upside is that if you can land it, nearly 15,000 damage in just base form, pretty much level 99 base form, and it only hits the opponent once. So you might actually, depending if you can time it right, if it doesn't defeat them, perhaps make them go for a panic evasive, thinking, oh, it might hit me a few more times, because I believe the normal version is more so a beam sort of attack, so you'll hit the opponent several times, as opposed to the locked off version, which is just like a skill like Soul Punisher, Gigantic Roar, where it'll just hit the opponent once. Good stuff, very powerful, but not the best in the game, locked off, and certainly not the best on this list. Number 9, Super Key Explosion at 15,336 damage. This is a great skill. Great skill. Now, the damage I've just said is assuming that you have max key and you use it until it automatically stops. I think it will stop at about 1 bar of key left, I forget. It won't prolong or continue indefinitely, or rather until you run out of key. It will, as it works right now, it will stop. Now, again, I believe there is a Super Soul. I want to say off the top of my head, it's a Final Form Cooler Super Soul, but I do forget. But there's a Super Soul in the game where I believe the Limit Burst effect is specifically an attack increase to Super Key Explosion. That paired with this skill, you are just going to destroy everything, especially with Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, or even the Beast Awoken. Now, with that said, do let me know in the comments, would you guys be interested in seeing a separate video, which is the top 10 or top 15 or top 20 or what have you, strongest one-hit KO skills, which would take into effect their Limit Burst and stuff like that? Do let me know in the comments, but regardless, this is a great skill. Number 8, Thunder Flash, 15,970 damage, just shy of 16,000, but again, it'll be stronger depending on the build, etc, etc, etc. Now, I think it's fairly obvious that this is the prolonged version, so just hold down the input if you have the proper amount of key. I think you need 2 or 3 bars of key more after it's used to then prolong it, if I remember at least. Yeah, great. I mean, okay, I say it's a great skill. Much like with the locked off times 100 Big Bang Kamehameha, you're going to want to just break your opponent's guard first and then use it and hope they don't use like a limit burst or something like that. It does a ton of damage, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily know if the startup time for the prolonged version is necessarily worth it. Now, yes, if you are using Pycon and it's on his build anyway with reverse Mebiku Senko, sure, why not? But again, 9 times out of 10, maybe it's just not going to land. Again, unless you can just absolutely just floor your opponent and like break their stamina and then just use it. Like basically, it's called Thunder Flash. It is a very flashy skill. Probably not the best though, but it'll do the job regardless. If it lands. Number 7, Break Cannon. 17,027 damage. Now look, you're going to want to use this when you have max key, or rather for this video I've used it with max key, so 10 bars of key. If you don't know, this is a skill that will do more damage depending on how much key you have when you use it, and then it will then instantly drain all of your key. Look, it will do the job. Like, it really will do the job right there. Only issue though is that if you're going to have this, you are going to want to have like max key anyway, and then only use it when you have maximum key. But if that's your plan anyway, go ahead. I don't believe, and I could be wrong here, but I don't believe there's a Super Soul with the limit burst effect specifically being Break Cannon attack increase. Look, it's a Nappa skill. What do you expect? Number 6, Final Shine attack at 18,055 damage. Hey, it's me, Vegeta from Dragon Ball GT. Now, much like with Break Cannon, this is a skill that you're going to want to use when you have max key, and unlike Break Cannon, this is a skill that prolongs depending on how long you have the input, well, how long you're using the input for, much like with Super Key Explosion and, you know, other skills like that. You can stop it whenever, but given how fast it drains your key when you use it, you're going to pretty much use this when you have max key or as like a last resort maybe. Good skill. The startup time isn't exactly the shortest, but how fast the attack is once it actually starts, I think that, well, I think that compensates, if that makes sense. Again, great skill, but if I were to compare this, well, if I had to pick between this skill and a skill like already on this list, Super Key Explosion, personally, I would pick Super Key Explosion over Final Shine attack. Doesn't mean it's a bad skill, it's just not one that I would necessarily have as a sort of go-to ultimate attack. Number 5, Emperor's Death Beam at 18,305 damage. Great skill, fantastic skill. Top 5 strongest key ultimate attack in Xenoverse 2, at least as of right now. That could change in the future, we don't know yet, but as of this upload, well, top 5 strongest. Now look, I don't care who you are, what your skill level is. If you are against someone who has this as one of their ultimates, you're gonna be a bit trepidatious continuing, because this can just change the tide of a battle in seconds, literally in seconds. I mean, this is a skill that I run on my freeze race character for both the PvP build that I have on Burcol, my freeze race character, as well as the PvE build for stuff like raids, parallel quests, etc, etc. Fantastic skill. Even if you don't have max key when you use it, you're just going to do, if it lands, especially with, again, an Awoken limit burst, it will do significantly more damage and just absolutely destroy your opponent, changing the tide of the battle in your favor, if not flat out winning it for you. For example, as well, if you are in the Beast Awoken and you go for the Beast Awoken unique combo, which is triangle, square, triangle, 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 whatever it is, then go for Emperor's Death Beam immediately after the end of the final knockback in the Beast Awoken combo, that might actually defeat anyone. Like, that might do enough damage to just defeat them, because it's like 10 bars of key for an Emperor's Death Beam and like maybe taking an entire bar of health away from the opponent just from the combo part. Fantastic skill. Just absolutely powerful. Love it. Number 4, Revenge Death Ball, 18,358 damage. Can I please get a booyah in the comments of the video? Okay, so yeah, this is naturally again fully charged up, but I realized afterwards it would do more damage, I believe, if you as the user of the attack have flashing red health, and I also believe it will then charge it faster, I believe. But again, just so it's fair across the board, it's just like the strongest version of each attack with the max amount of ki and or stamina that the attack can use. But again, every attack, as I've already mentioned several times in this video, every attack on this list can be made stronger just from having the, you know, a certain super souls with certain limit burst effects, as well as awoken skills such as Turn Golden, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, and even the Beast Awoken skill. But again, with this, you will want to use this when you have max ki. Let's say you've got 10 bars of ki. It takes 3 bars of ki to actually activate, and then it will drain that 3 bar of ki. But if you then, so you'll then have 7 bars of ki. Maths. Well, what am I talking about, dude? But then it will, you know, charge up the remaining ki that was just used, and then once it's launched, it will drain all of your ki. How many times did I say ki there? Do feel free to let me know. Again, very, very, very powerful attack, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's situational. It's just that with a skill like this, you are gonna basically want to be a bit careful in terms of using it. Maybe use it as a desperation skill, stuff like that. Decent skill. It's just, I mean, it's one of the coolest looking attacks in the game, but it just takes a fair bit to actually prepare. Number 3, Angry Explosion, 18,376 damage. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that this is a powerful attack, but it just seems very random. It's a Majin Buu attack, right? It's like, I mean, sure, why not? But given the entries on this list so far from like Baby Vegeta previously, I mean, I say it's random. We had like a Nappa skill, right? But we had like skills from like Golden Frieza, you know, skills from like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and stuff like that. And the next entry is somewhat from a random character, but we'll get into that in a moment or so. But yeah, look, this is also, it's basically like Super Ki Explosion in the sense of it will, well, it takes 3 bars of ki to activate, but depending on how much ki you have when you use it, you can just prolong it until you either run out or it manually stops it for you. Look, it's basically Super Ki Explosion, with the only difference being that it's got a longer setup, but the longer setup results in it doing more damage by like what? About, give or take, 3,000 more damage. Again, give or take. Powerful attack. Don't know if I can necessarily recommend it for PvP content. For like a PvP build, but if you can land it, good for you. But I would probably stick, if you want to go the explosive wave route, I would probably just stick with Super Ki Explosion instead of Angry Explosion. Number 2, Neo Tri-Beam at 19,428 damage. So yeah, 3 bars of ki to actually activate, then you can prolong it depending on how much stamina you have, and I believe it just takes 1 bar of stamina per wave or per Tri-Beam. Now here's the thing, yeah, it's as of right now the second strongest ki-based ultimate attack, again, as of right now, in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, but if you go for, let's just say, a heavy stamina break on your opponent and even have a super soul that would perhaps extend the time that their guard is broken, if you go for this with max stamina, I'll get it right one day, guys, I promise. If you go for this with max stamina, there's a decent chance that you will, well, there's a pretty decent chance, I'd imagine, that the opponent would have time to get all their stamina back, then go for an evasive, then block, or what have you. So again, well, for PvE stuff, actually, I'm just thinking I might actually run this for a raid and just see how well it does, if at all, instead of, not Neo Tri-Beam, instead of Emperor's Death Beam, maybe run Neo Tri-Beam. That's maybe interesting. Again, I'll have to wait and see. I might do a video on it, who knows, let me know if you want to see that. Look, second strongest attack in the game, but I don't know, it's like, it's not necessarily situational, but it's a case of, for 1v1 online battles, just be careful if you use this, because for example, if you are against someone who has the time skip what is it, tremor pulse, they can use that, and then they'll be right behind you. And I don't think, or I forget off the top of my head, again, let me know in the comments, but I don't know, or I forget, if you'll turn while you're using the ultimate. So they can just then go for a heavy smash and break your guard. Again, powerful attack, but it does absolutely come with a few drawbacks. And number 1, final explosion at an incredible 27,931 damage, so close to 28,000. Again, that's with no Super Soul, Limit Burst, or Walking Skill, just level 99. Incredible. Now, 3 bars key to use, and much like Neo Tri-Beam, this can be extended depending on how much stamina you have, and it takes stamina to, well, extend. But with that said, it is fairly slow with all things considered to actually activate, and regardless of how long you use it, you will like turn to stone for like a second and then fall down to the bottom of the stage. So if you're going to use this online against other players, you better make sure that you know what you're doing and that it's going to defeat the opponent. Otherwise, if they are also running it, they can just do the exact same thing to you and you will be in a lot of trouble. Now, this is the best skill to use for most online raids because it does the most damage, but depending on the raid character, for example, if they have super armor, it wouldn't necessarily work, especially, for certain parts of the extra raids. And depending on if they have like the brainwash attack, which would stop it, it's not exactly the best. But if you can land a couple of these in an online raid, you're going to get an absolute incredible amount of damage to get like the points, like 50,000 points or even 100,000 points. Fantastic. Also great for like online or just doing pedal quests to like unlock stuff like skills or what have you. But again, the drawback is that if you use it and it drains all of your stamina, you're going to have to go for a stamina reset and then wait a few seconds to then get your stamina recharge. But man, an absolutely fantastic skill regardless, and if you're hit with it, pretty much game over.